move to exclude Exhibit 93 under Rule 801 and under Rule 401.
Okay, response?
Yes, Your Honor. I'll start with those relevance grounds. Your Honor, this is absolutely relevant in today's case. It's the plaintiff's burden today to prove by the preponderance of the evidence at the defense Provo University intentionally and willfully interfered with the contract that they had with Avery Rowe. Now, Your Honor, what this advisory opinion does is that it puts Coach Bell and the boosters on notice for what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. This was performed on March 1st, before the events of today's case, and it's relevant for that purpose to show they weren't acting willfully and intentionally to interfere with a contract, and were actually complying with this opinion. Additionally, Your Honor, on the hearsay grounds, none of that is being offered for the truth of the matter asserted, and the jury can be instructed so. It's simply being offered for the notice of Coach Riley Bell, who we expect to testify in court today.
Would you like to respond?
Yes, Your Honor. Exhibit 93 is insufficient to be admitted for notice purposes. The NCAA makes it very clear in the writing. In terms of tampering, the NCAA bylaws continue to prohibit tampering with any athlete that is currently enrolled at another university. The NCAA merely issued an opinion on the bylaws. They did not change the bylaws. Therefore, any notice is irrelevant. The bylaws remain the same, and what the coaches knew about those bylaws did not change from this opinion.
Response, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, the very last sentence of this document is the existence of an NIL contract is meaningless when it comes to tampering. That absolutely goes to the notice of Coach Riley Bell. You know, we're not offering this for the truth of the matter asserted, exactly for the reason we're not saying this is a legally binding conclusion, that this actually impacted those NCAA rules and changed them, but instead that it put Coach Riley Bell on notice, which, Your Honor, we do have deposition evidence that Coach Riley Bell has reviewed this document and then relied on it when coming to the events of today's case.
Your Honor, may I respond to the contractual argument briefly?
Yes.
The NCAA opinion does say, or give an opinion, that these contracts are likely unenforceable, but ultimately that's up for the jury to decide in today's case. Now, at issue is whether the contract between Avery Rowe and Independence was an at-will contract or an at-will employment contract or an independent contractor contract. Now, the NCAA advisory opinion, like opposing counsel just said, is not a legally binding document. This document cannot comment on or change the law in this courtroom, which is that the jury will decide whether the contract was legally binding or not. This NCAA opinion, as it relates to the contract, is completely irrelevant to the law of this case and the facts of this case.
All right. Thank you, counsel. I'm going to exclude that exhibit. Are there any further motions?
Not from the plaintiff.
One from the defense, Your Honor.
Okay.
Based on Your Honor's motion to exclude this and granting it, we ask that this court exclude Exhibit 25, the NCAA guidelines themselves, Your Honor, as they're substantially more prejudicial and misleading to the members of the jury. As Your Honor is aware, this is a tortious interference case where the plaintiff has to prove that Provo University interfered with the contract. And now, Your Honor, these laws are not the law in today's case. In fact, they're guidelines that state explicitly that members of a team are not allowed to contact a player at all when they're under contract, Your Honor. This is a higher standard, and it's going to make the members of the jury believe that if they violated these rules, if they tampered at all under the NCAA's definition, then somehow they're liable in today's case. Because that's substantially more prejudicial and misleading to the members of the jury, it's just not probative.
Response?
Yes, Your Honor. The facts of this case revolve around college athletics and recruiting, more specifically NIL. Now, in order for the jury to fully appreciate the context that these coaches and the facts of this case are operating under, they have to understand the rules which govern coaches. The coaches in this case, Coach Bell and Coach Dale, are required to follow the NCAA rules. They know about the NCAA rules. Because they know about those rules, they set up their programs and their NIL collectives to either follow them or, in some cases, go around them. This is very important context for the jury to understand, and they will be able to differentiate an NCAA rule from a law.
What is the difference between these guidelines and the exhibit that you just argued?
So, Your Honor, these guidelines are NCAA rules. However, the exhibit we just argued are an interpretation or an opinion on them. The opinion specifically states we do not intend to change the rules, meaning the rules are still very much in effect and were in effect during the timeline of this case.
Response, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, opposing counsel can't have his cake and eat it too. He can't say that this advisory opinion explaining what the rules mean, we have to exclude that because it's not relevant, but then say that these guidelines are relevant. Your Honor, what that actually does is makes it more confusing than it is probative for the members of the jury, because they'll believe that because some tampering existed under these guidelines, that somehow that's the law and they're liable in today's case, when that's just not the law, Your Honor.
All right, I'm not going to exclude that exhibit. Are there any additional motions?
No, Your Honor, the defense is ready to proceed.
Thank you, counsel. All right, the court will recognize plaintiff's counsel for opening statement.
May it please the court, defense counsel, members of the jury, they knew the rules. They just didn't care. This defendant university knew that star point guard Avery Rowe was under contract with Independence University. This defendant knew that they cannot recruit an athlete who is under contract with another university. But they didn't care. To understand why they didn't care, we have to go back long before NIL. Back to when Coach Dale, who's the head coach for Independence University, and Coach Bell, who's the head coach for Provo University, were starting their careers. 30 years ago, when they were assistant coaches together at Bloomington State University, a smaller school than either of them coach at now. You see, while they were at Bloomington State, Coach Bell got into some trouble, and Coach Dale reported him for it. Coach Bell was suspended from coaching, blacklisted from coaching. Something that set his career back years. Something that Coach Bell still holds a grudge against Coach Dale to this day. Fast forward 30 years. Coach Bell and Coach Dale are now rival head coaches for basketball programs in the same conference. It's Coach Bell's first year back as a Division I head coach. And during that year, he saw Avery Rowe, an Independence University basketball player, come in from a backup point guard to a starting point guard. Avery Rowe dominated on the court that season. Dominated so much, in fact, that Independence University wanted to re-sign him to remain as the starting point guard the next year. Coach Bell knew that. Coach Bell wanted revenge. So after Avery Rowe signed his new contract with Independence, Independence was ecstatic. They were planning on building a team around him, putting players on the team who could help Avery score, help the team win. So they signed him to a new NIL deal worth $1.5 million, a massive amount of money for a college athlete. You can imagine Coach Dale's surprise when only a few days later, Avery Rowe terminates his contract. A contract that he had been so excited about, he posted on social media. A contract that Independence University was so excited about that they posted on social media. Terminated. You will hear that the only reason that contract was terminated is because Coach Bell at Provo University recruited Avery Rowe while he was under the contract through his NIL collective and Happy Young. You'll hear that the only reason that contract was terminated is because Coach Bell wanted revenge. So he took his old rival's star player. Now, as the plaintiff in today's case, we have a burden to prove our case beyond a reasonable doubt. And our case is tortious interference. By a preponderance of the evidence. And all that means is more likely than not. We have to prove that this defendant is liable for tortious interference. And what tortious interference is, it's when two parties have a contract together. And then a third party, somebody who's not in the contract, interferes with it intentionally, causing that contract to not be able to be performed. The evidence will show that that's exactly what Provo University did in this case. Because we will show you that they knew about the contract, that they interfered with it anyways, and that that's what caused the contract to be terminated. Now, we'll show you that they knew about the contract by showing you several things. First, we'll show you the social media posts that Avery Rowe posted to Instagram and X. We'll show you the social media posts that Independence University posted to Instagram and X. And you're going to have rival basketball coaches, especially when they're in the same conference, constantly monitor what other schools are doing so that they can maintain a competitive advantage against their rivals. But that's not the only proof you'll hear of how this defendant knew about the existence of the contract. You'll also hear from Happy Young today. Now, Happy Young used to be this defendant head coach's friend, his business partner. He was the CEO of their NIL collective, actively involved in the recruitment of Avery Rowe. But Happy Young will tell you that they knew there was a contract. They just recruited him anyway. After we prove that the defendant knew about the contract, we'll prove that they interfered with it. And to prove that, we'll call Happy Young, who will tell you, yes, I was actively involved in recruiting Avery Rowe. And everything that I did was at the direction of Coach Bell. We'll do that by showing you their text messages. In fact, we'll show a few of them to you now. In Exhibit 64, you can see a text message between Happy Young, which is in blue, and John Rowe, which is in gray. Now, John Rowe is Avery's dad. Happy's reaching out to John Rowe about a contract, asking if Avery has signed one. Here that John, Avery's dad, says, yes, we signed yesterday. This is evidence of knowledge. Next, we'll show you the text messages which show interference. In Exhibit 65, an offer. Even though Happy knew that they were under contract, and Coach Bell knew that they were under contract, a $2 million offer. You see that they give him clear instructions. Avery transfers to Provo and will sign Avery to YME for $2 million. Now, YME is their collective. Let's go to the next exhibit, John. You'll see that at first Avery says no, because he loved being in Independence, but they wanted Avery so bad that they raised it to $3 million. With knowledge he was still under the contract. A $3 million offer, probably the biggest NIL deal in the country. Then Happy says, I've got the money, and everyone is on board. The evidence will show that everyone included Coach Bell. The evidence will show that this defendant interfered with the contract that Independence had with their star basketball player. And we'll show Coach Bell did it for improper purposes. Now, nobody in this case disputes that Avery is a phenomenal basketball player, one of the best freshman point guards in the country. But this defendant didn't recruit him for that purpose. They recruited him to get revenge. And so the defense has brought an affirmative defense of justification. And what that essentially means is they're saying that even if we did improperly recruit him, we were justified in doing it because we wanted to make our team better. or was this revenge? Was this a way to kill Aubrey Dale's program? Was this a way to make Aubrey's program worse? Ask yourself if they're really justifications or just excuses. They knew the rules, they just didn't care. At the end of this trial, we will ask you to find Provo University liable for tortious interference with our contract with Avery Rowe. Thank you all for your time today.
Court recognizes defense counsel for opening statement.
Yes, Your Honor. May it please the court. We're here today because Avery Rowe wanted a better team. Provo University wanted a better player. And that left Independence with a bitter coach. It's March 23rd, 2024. The lights are shining down on a second round game of the annual NCAA basketball tournament. And a freshman point guard is on that court, and you're going to hear he's pouring his heart out. He's making good shots. He's running up and down. He's leading that team. But despite Avery Rowe's best efforts, they lose. And he and Independence University are eliminated from the tournament. But members of the jury, after that loss, you'll learn that Avery, he didn't have much to say. But what he did do is go to the office of their coach, Coach Aubrey Dale, and tell him one thing. I want to win championships. Now, a few states away, you'll learn there's another school that's still in that tournament called Provo University. And just like Avery Rowe, they're playing their hearts out on that court. They're the underdogs in the Sweet 16 for the first time in years. But they come up a few games away from a national title, a few key players away from making history. And after that game, the coach of that school, Riley Bell, well, he has just one thing on his mind. I want to win championships. Members of the jury, this case today is just that simple. Avery Rowe wanted to go to a better school, to a better team. Provo University, they wanted better players. And when they lost Avery, it left Independence bitter. But plaintiff's counsel just got up here and told you that somehow Provo interfered with their contract with Avery. But members of the jury, they can't just come into a courtroom and tell you that. They have to prove it to you. They have to prove that was Provo University themselves that interfered with Avery Rowe's contract. That they did so intentionally and willfully. And that it was their conduct that caused Independence University harm. And like plaintiff's counsel just told you, they have to prove that by a preponderance of the evidence. Now, a preponderance of the evidence, that might not be something you hear in your everyday lives. But the judge will tell you it means more likely than not. But members of the jury, even if they meet each and every element of their case if they prove to you that it's more likely than not to be true. It doesn't mean your job is over. That's because while the defense, we normally don't have a burden, we've decided to take one on today. It's called justification. What that means, members of the jury, is that we can prove that Avery Rowe had a right to terminate his contract at any time, for any reason, and that Provo University signed him for a valid business interest because of basketball and not some budget. That means this case is over. You have to rule not liable. They won't be able to meet their burden today, but we will be able to meet ours. By asking you to keep track of those 3 key reasons we're here. That Avery wanted a better team, Provo wanted a better player, and that left Independence with a bitter coach. A better team, a better player, a bitter coach. So let's start with why Avery left Independence. Because members of the jury, we expect the coach of Independence University, Aubrey Dale, to take the stand today. I want you to listen closely, as I'm going to stand right here and cross-examine him. Listen to what their roster looked like when Avery was leaving. Because you're going to hear today that after that season, after that loss, Avery was the only starter coming back to the team. And you're going to hear from an expert today in basketball analytics. Casey Fleener will take that stand and compare how Provo University was doing and how Independence was. That at the end of the day, Provo was just a better team. And that just makes even more sense. Avery left when you hear that he wanted to win a championship. That brings us to better players. Because members of the jury, it's true. Nobody today is going to dispute that Avery Rowe, he was an up-and-coming star. He was one of the best point guards in the entire country. That's exactly why you'll learn Provo University decided to recruit him. Because while the plaintiff got up here and told you about a 30-year-old grudge, members of the jury, Coach Bell's going to take that stand and tell you that 30-year incident, it was water under the bridge. That what he really wanted was to win. To win, he had to have better players. That's exactly why the plaintiff won't be able to meet their burden, that we intentionally and willfully interfered with their contract. As members of the jury, you're going to learn it was just business, just basketball. That brings us to bitter coach. Because we're not going to dispute that losing a player like Avery, well, that was a blow to Independence's roster. Losing a player like that would be bad for any coach. But the judge will tell you today, it's not your job to base your decision on who lost the most. You have to base it on the law. And when Avery Rowe wanted a better team, Provo wanted a better coach, that just means it left Independence with a bitter team. That's why at the end of today's case, I'll come before you again and ask that you find Provo University not liable. Thank you.
Plaintiff, call your first witness.
Plaintiff calls Aubrey Dale.
Mr. Dale, I'll remind you that you were previously sworn. You're still under oath. Please be seated.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
Introduce yourself to us, please.
My name's Aubrey Dale.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Dale?
I'm a basketball coach,
Where are you a coach?
Independence University.
How long have you been with Independence?
Just over 20 years,
How long have you been a basketball coach?
about 30 years.
Well, let's talk a little bit about why we're here today. Coach Dale, why are you here today?
Well, I'm here today because we lost a basketball player because another university stole him away from us while he was under contract with us.
What player was that?
His name is Avery Rowe.
I want to talk a little bit more about Avery. Now, did you recruit Avery out of high school?
Yes.
Why?
Well, he was a point guard and he has all the skills you want in a point guard. He's a playmaker, he's athletic, fast. And we also felt like he might be with us for more than a year.
Was he?
It turns out he wasn't, but that was our anticipation initially.
Well, let's talk about Avery's first season at Independence University. How did Avery perform?
Well, we thought that Avery would be a backup point guard in his initial season. We had another player that we expected would play ahead of him. But that player, a transfer from Duke, ended up getting injured. So Avery ended up our starting point guard. By the end of the season, I think he was the best player we had on the team.
So what were your plans for next season?
The plans for the next season were to build the team around Avery Rowe.
Now, in order to build the team around Avery Rowe, was there anything you had to do?
Yeah, we've got to make sure that Avery Rowe returns for a second season. That was mission number one, task number one.
How do you accomplish that?
Well, in the modern day of college basketball, you've got to get him under contract because the contract we had with him for the first year was a one-year deal.
Now, when you say contract, what kind of contract are you talking about?
It's what's called a name, image, likeness contract, or an NIL contract for short.
Now, for those of us who may not be familiar with the current state of college athletics, will you explain NIL to us?
Yeah, it's the Wild West. What happens is each university forms a collective, what's called a collective. And essentially, it's pay for play. The collective raises money. The coach of the program finds the recruits, directs the collective to pay the recruit the amount of money that the coach has decided is appropriate for that player, and of course that the player has agreed to.
So when you entered into your NIL contract with Avery Rowe for the second season, how much was that contract for?
$1.5 million.
Your Honor, may I approach with Exhibit 8, which has already been admitted into evidence?
Yes.
We'll leave this with you, Coach.
Okay.
Coach Dale, what is Exhibit 8?
So this is the contract that was entered into between our collective, NIL collective at Independence, and Avery Rowe. It was the second contract.
Publishing Exhibit 8 for the members of the jury. What all is in Exhibit 8, the NIL contract with Avery Rowe?
Well, there's a number of different provisions, but one of them is, of course, the amount of money that the collective was going to pay him.
Is this a standard NIL contract for college athletes?
It is.
Now, do these contracts have what's called a termination clause?
They do.
What's the termination clause in this contract?
Well, they all do have a termination clause, and it allows the player to terminate the contract with notice to the university.
But when you say with notice to the university, how is that accomplished?
It's written notice to the university, could be an email.
Did Avery Rowe ever give you a written notice of termination?
He did.
When was that?
That would have been early April 2024, I believe.
Now, before Avery told you he was terminating this contract, did you meet with him about building a team around him?
Absolutely. I met with him about building a team around him, both before he entered into this contract we just talked about and after, and communicated to him that my entire recruiting effort was to put a team around him with him as the leader, with him as the alpha on the team.
How did Avery seem when you told him those were the team's plans?
He seemed perfectly happy with that,
Were you surprised when Avery Rowe terminated his contract?
to say the least.
How did it make you feel?
Stabbed in the back a bit, frankly.
Were you aware that while Avery Rowe was under contract with Independence, that Avery Rowe's dad was speaking to this defendant's NIL collective?
Not at the time, I wasn't.
Now, do you know Coach Bell?
I do.
How do you know Coach Bell?
Coach Bell and I were assistant coaches together more than 20 years ago at Bloomington State.
Do you know where Coach Bell coaches?
He coaches at Provo University now.
Will you tell us about your relationship with Coach Bell while you were together at Bloomington State?
Well, we were friends. We were coaches together. We were friends. But it went sour after that.
What do you mean?
Well, he had a problem with the rules, NCAA rules. He was
Objection, Your Honor, to character evidence, if I may be heard.
Proceed.
Your Honor, what opposing counsel and the witness are getting into is an incident specifically where Riley Bell had a problem with the rules, didn't follow the NCAA rules. They're using that evidence for propensity, that because Riley Bell may have committed a bad act before, needed so in this case.
Response?
Yes, Your Honor. This evidence is not propensity evidence. We're offering it for the other purpose of motive. Now, at issue in this case is whether Coach Bell improperly recruited Avery Rowe for the purpose of getting back at Coach Dale. This incident 30 years ago is the motive for doing that.
Response, Your Honor?
Briefly.
Your Honor, that has to be related to today's case. Maybe if it happened this year or last year, then it would make that exception under 404B. Instead, Your Honor, this happened 30 years ago. That's just not enough of a causal relationship. Instead, it's going to be used for propensity under Rule 404.
I'm going to overrule the objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
So Coach Dale, I'm going to back up a little bit. How did your relationship with Coach Bell end when y'all were at Bloomington State together?
Well, I learned that he was offering to pay players under the table. I reported this to Bloomington officials. The result of that was his employment was terminated.
Was there any other punishment?
Of Coach Bell?
Yes, sir.
Not that I recall.
Did the NCAA get involved?
I think there was an NCAA infractions matter about it.
When Avery signed his deal with Independence University, were you excited?
Oh, yes. Yes, I was.
Did Independence University announce that deal to its fans?
We did.
How did you do that?
We had a press release and social media.
Approaching with exhibits 9 through 11. Coach Dale, what's exhibit 9?
Exhibit 9 is Independence University's press release about Avery Rowe's return for his sophomore year.
What's exhibit 10?
Exhibit 10 is the same press release, but it is I believe the Instagram post about it.
What's exhibit 11?
Exhibit 11 is again that press release, but it's the Twitter post.
Do exhibits 9, 10, and 11 fairly and accurately reflect the posts that were made about Avery signing his contract?
They do.
Have they been changed or altered in any way?
It doesn't appear so.
Plaintiff offers exhibits 9, 10, and 11.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
They'll be admitted.
Now, publishing exhibit 9, will you read that first paragraph about what Independence University posted online for their fans to see?
Independence University is ecstatic to announce that Avery Rowe, a standout freshman this past season for the Independence University basketball team, has reached an agreement with Independence University's NIL Collective, Business Habitat Collective, LLC, on a new NIL agreement and has confirmed that he will be returning to Independence University for his sophomore season.
Was this shared to Instagram?
Yes,
Publishing Exhibit 10? And was this shared to Twitter as well?
it was.
Is that what we see in Exhibit 11?
Yes,
Did Avery Rowe make any posts about his new contract?
he did.
I'm approaching with Exhibits 12 and 13. Here you go, Coach.
Thank you.
What's Exhibit 12?
Exhibit 12 is Avery Rowe's Instagram post announcing that he will return to Independence University.
And what's Exhibit 13?
Same message from Avery Rowe, but this time on Twitter.
Have those exhibits been changed or altered in any way since you last reviewed them?
No,
Do they fairly and accurately reflect Avery Rowe's posts?
they do.
Plaintiff offers Exhibits 12 and 13.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
They'll be admitted.
Publishing Exhibit 12. What did Avery say about re-signing with Independence?
In this Exhibit 12,
Yes, sir.
he says, excited to announce I'll be back at Independence for year 2. Let's get it.
Let's take a look at what Avery posted to Twitter in Exhibit 13. What did Avery Rowe post on Twitter?
Excited to announce I'm returning to Independence for my sophomore season. Let's get it. All caps, exclamation point.
Now, as a head coach at a Division I basketball program, do you monitor what other schools are doing?
Absolutely.
Why?
Well, we want to know, for example, who they've landed. We want to know as much as we can about their programs, but it's particularly important in the context of recruiting.
Pass the witness. May I approach to retrieve the exhibits?
Yes. Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Coach.
Afternoon.
I want to start by talking about Avery because your team lost in the second round of the NCAA tournament, correct?
Most recently, yes.
And after that most recent loss, Avery, he came to your office, true?
I believe that's right. Yeah.
He told you, I want to win championships, didn't he?
Yep.
Well, I want to see if your roster allowed Avery to do that. Would you recognize a copy of your roster from 2023 to 2024?
Yes, I would.
Your Honor, I'm showing opposing counsel what's been pre-marked as Exhibit 32. And Your Honor, if this has also been pre-admitted into evidence, permission to approach the witness with the same? We'll be displaying it for the members of the jury. Coach, this is your roster, correct?
Yes.
Now, some of the players on this roster, they left your school, didn't they?
They did.
Some of them transferred away.
That's right.
Some of them, they got injured.
Yes.
Some of them, they went to the draft.
Yeah, the NBA.
In this roster, the only starter left was Avery Rowe. Isn't that true?
That's true.
In fact, there were only 2 other players from this roster that were left on your team, other than Avery.
Yes, that's right.
That was the bottom 2 players here.
Well, they're the last 2 on the list.
Now, those last 2 on the list, the summary for their statistics, well, Coach, it's blank, isn't it?
Yep.
It's blank because they didn't score a single point that season, correct?
Right. They
It's-
didn't play.
Yeah, it's blank because they didn't even play for a single minute. Isn't that true?
That's true.
Coach, you didn't even bother to put their weights in, did you?
No, it doesn't appear that their weights are on the list.
So let's talk about why Avery might have wanted to leave this team. Because you told the members of the jury that you were blindsided by this whole thing, right?
I was blindsided.
Well, would you recognize an email that you wrote about Avery's decision to leave? Sir, yes or no? Would you recognize one?
If I saw it, I could tell you.
I'm approaching opposing counsel. This has already been pre-marked as Exhibit 17. Your Honor, I'm approaching the witness with the same. Now, Coach, that's an email you wrote, correct?
Yes,
That's your email address at the top,
right,
and it's sent to one of your athletic directors at the school, correct?
correct.
It appears to be fair and accurate.
Yes, it does.
Hasn't changed at all since the last time you saw it.
Right.
Your Honor, defense offers Exhibit 17 into evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
It'll be admitted.
Coach, in this document, you write how surprised you were how much Avery's decision to leave had to do with the direction of the team.
Yes, I say that.
Now, I just want to be clear. Avery, under your contract with him, he could terminate it at any time, correct?
With notice, that's true.
And with that notice, he could do it for any reason.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Now, when Avery first got to your team, he wasn't your starter, was he?
No.
Your starter actually got injured, correct?
Yes.
And then you had to put Avery in.
Well, he was playing before, but he became the starter after the injury.
So I'd say yes, he became the star player on your team starting.
He became a starter after the injury. By the end of the season, I would agree, he was a star.
Well, by the end of the season, you'd say he was the best player on your team.
I think he was, yeah.
So Provo University, by signing Avery, they signed a young player who was one of the best, correct?
No doubt.
They signed a young player who had been a backup before.
He had, yes.
They signed a young player who did well under pressure.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
They signed a young player who you'd agree could win championships.
I think he certainly could fill the role of a point guard on a championship team. Yeah.
Thank you. Nothing further. I'm approaching to retrieve evidence.
Redirect?
Very briefly, Your Honor. Coach Dale, you were asked about your roster the year that Avery Rowe was on the team. We're publishing that exhibit again. Exhibit 32. Now, you were asked about the two players at the bottom of the list. Do those two players make your team bad?
They don't make our team bad, I don't think.
Did they even play?
They didn't play.
Well, how did the starting five do?
I mean, very well. I mean, we were a little disappointed in our season, but we made it to the NCAA tournament. We had 20-plus wins. We made it to the second round.
Did you meet with Avery Rowe or talk to Avery Rowe after he terminated the contract?
Yes.
Did Avery Rowe tell you he wanted to go play for a better team?
That's not what he talked about.
What did he say?
He said it's about the money.
Pass the witness.
Any recalls?
I apologize. Yes, Your Honor. Coach, of those starting 5 players, at the end of the season, only Avery was left. Isn't that true?
That's true.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Anything further, counsel?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down. Who will be your next witness?
Plaintiff calls Miss Bailey Chitwood.
Chitwood, I'll remind you that you were previously sworn. You're still under oath. Please have a seat. You may proceed.
Please introduce yourself to us.
I'm Bailey Chitwood, excuse me.
And Ms. Chitwood, what do you do for a living?
I am an associate professor at the University of Texas, and I have a consulting business.
Why are you involved in this case, Ms. Chitwood?
I was asked to look at it and render an opinion about what happened in the case because of my basketball knowledge, my consulting work that I do.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about that basketball knowledge and consulting work now. How long have you been involved in athletics?
Oh gosh, pretty much since I could walk, but certainly I played college basketball. I've played professionally in a European league. I've been doing scouting for a couple of different NBA teams, the Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors. I've done things with the University of Texas. It's just really pretty much been my life.
Do you have any experience with NIL collectives?
I do.
How
I do.
so?
Well, I for some time worked for the University of Texas, doing their NIL work for them, and it is part of what I study in my research as an associate professor. It is what I specifically have focused on.
When you were coming to your opinions in this case, what materials did you rely on?
I looked at the depositions of the depositions that I was provided. I looked at a number of exhibits, and based on those materials, that formed the basis of my opinion.
Are those the same materials that other analysts would rely on in reaching their opinions?
Yes,
Are your opinions to a reliable degree of professional certainty?
they are.
Did you apply reliable principles and methods when you were reaching your opinion?
Yes, I did.
So, Ms. Chitwood, what is your opinion or your opinions in this case?
Well, based on what I reviewed, my opinion is that there was interference or improper conduct by Coach Bell, what some would refer to as tampering. And
Objection, Your Honor, to Rule 704 is an opinion on the ultimate issue and ultimately the issue that the members of the jury are going to have to try in today's case.
Response?
Yes, Your Honor. As an expert witness, Ms. Chitwood may opine to what sounds like the ultimate issue, but ultimately what Ms. Chitwood has said is there were NCAA violations. And we can clear that up if you would like, but it will become very clear soon.
All right.
Response, Your Honor?
You sure?
What the witness actually said is there was interference. Now, the members of the jury are supposed to deal specifically with tortious interference. Using that word has a legal connotation, and it's going to make the members of the jury think that that is the ultimate issue, and it didn't directly go to those NCAA guidelines until the end. We're filing this witness speaking about those guidelines, but specifically using the word interfered with the contract. That's their decision today.
All right. If you'll clean it up a little bit, counsel.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Ms. Chitwood, when you say that what is your opinion in this case?
my opinion is that certainly there was contact between Coach Bell, directly or indirectly, with Avery Rowe before he had placed himself in the transfer portal. And that my opinion also includes that there really was no good reason for Provo to enter into a contract with him to recruit him to that particular school.
Okay, let's take those one at a time. If you don't mind, I'd like to start with your opinion that Provo didn't have a good reason to recruit Avery Rowe. Do you agree that Avery Rowe is a good player?
Oh, absolutely. He is a very good player.
Well, why wouldn't Provo University want to recruit Avery Rowe?
Well, when you look at what the players that Provo had on its roster, they have already a very good and experienced point guard. And that point guard, at least when you look at the statistics, is far better than Avery Rowe, so that recruiting him to basically play behind, I mean, he'd be a backup player. He wouldn't likely start.
So is a backup player worth as much as a starting player on a basketball team?
No,
How much was Avery Rowe's contract with the defendant university?
$3 million.
Let's take a look at how much they were paying their players before Avery Rowe joined the roster. Your Honor, I'm may I approach with Exhibit 34?
Yes.
Leave that with you.
Thank you.
Ms. Chitwood, what is Exhibit 34?
It is the 2024-25 NIL budget from Young Marketing Enterprises.
And have you reviewed Exhibit 34 before trial?
Yes,
Has Exhibit 34 been changed or altered in any way?
no.
Plaintiff offers Exhibit 34.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor, we actually believe this has already been admitted to evidence by both parties.
I had it on my list too. Okay, it's admitted. Go ahead.
Great. So we're publishing Exhibit 34. Ms. Chitwood, when was this exhibit created?
The date on this is April 10, 2024.
Whose budget is this?
Young Marketing Enterprises.
What is Young Marketing Enterprises?
Young Marketing Enterprises is the collective that assists with raising money and doing various other things for NIL for Provo University.
So let's take a look at what the exhibit actually says. Now, what are the names on the left?
You want all of them?
No, Ms. Chitwood, just who they are or what they do.
They are the basketball players that are on the roster for Provo University.
You mentioned that Provo University already had a starting point guard. Is that starting point guard on this NIL budget?
Yes,
Who would that be?
Logan Blaylock,
How much was Logan Blaylock's NIL contract with this defendant?
$1.2 million,
How much was Avery Rowe's contract?
$3 million.
So let's go to your opinion that there was improper tampering with regard to recruiting Avery Rowe. What do you base that opinion on?
Well, one of the things that I reviewed was a series of text messages from various people that made it clear that there was contact that Coach Bell was aware of and probably participated in prior to Avery Rowe being in the transfer portal.
I'm approaching with exhibits 54, 56, 57, and 63 through 66. All right, we're going to take these one at a time. What's exhibit 54?
Exhibit 54 is text message chain that involves Happy.
What is exhibit 56?
It is a text text message that once again, well, the date is March 26th. I didn't say that on the last one, but the date is March 26th, and it appears to involve Happy as one of the people that's texting.
Who's the other person texting?
Um,
Is it Coach Bell?
It does appear to be
Objection leading.
It does appear to be Coach Bell.
Over.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Let's go to exhibit 57. What is exhibit 57?
It is a document from TPC which lists records from a couple of different telephone numbers.
What is exhibit 63?
Exhibit 63 is a series of text messages that went between John Rowe and I believe Happy Young.
What is exhibit 64?
It is a series of text messages dated March 27 that appears to have been between John Rowe and Happy Young.
And exhibit 65?
Exhibit 65 also is text messages between John Rowe and it appears to be Happy Young, and it's dated March 28th.
What is exhibit 66?
Exhibit 66 appears to be, once again, the same parties, but it's dated March 28th at 1:37 p.m.
Plaintiff offers exhibits 54, 56, 57, and 63 through 67.
Your Honor, we have an objection.
I'm sorry, 66.
Apologies. Specifically to Exhibit 57, that has a series of numbers on it with multiple different numbers. And the witness simply stated, this is a document, a phone record that has multiple numbers on it. We need the foundation laid for who these numbers are.
Do you have any objection to the other exhibits?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, let's take up 57 response.
Your Honor, I can lay additional
Okay,
foundation.
proceed.
Approaching again with Exhibit 57. Sorry, I forgot to ask you this while I was up here the first time. Whose phone number's right here that begins in 1801?
I'm sorry, I didn't pay attention to
Is that,
the numbers.
is that Coach Bell's phone number?
I believe so.
And these numbers over here, whose phone number begins in 1835?
Once again, I'm sorry, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to whose number was what,
Is that
or at least to remember which number went with which person.
Happy Young's phone number?
I believe so.
Now, have you reviewed Exhibit 57 before trial?
I did, I focused specifically on the dates, and I did have something where I wrote the names next to the numbers, but I don't remember those now.
And did you review the depositions of Aubrey Dale and Riley Bell where they confirmed that these are their phone numbers?
Yes.
Plaintiff offers Exhibit 57.
Any objection?
No objection with that foundation, Your Honor.
Thank you, counsel. It'll be admitted. All of those are admitted.
So, Ms. Chitwood, let's take a look at these text messages. But real quick before we do, we need to talk about the NCAA rules. So, are there rules in place for coaches with regard to recruiting athletes?
There are.
And what are those rules?
Well, there's one rule in particular, I believe it's 13.1.1.3, that restricts what coaches can do without permission from the affected school before a player has announced for the portal. That's the way it's been interpreted.
Approaching with Exhibit 25. Ms. Chitwood, is Exhibit 25 that NCAA rule?
It is,
Does it fairly and accurately reflect the NCAA rule?
yes.
Plaintiff offers 25.
Any objection?
Your Honor, pursuant to our pretrial motion, we would re-raise our objection, Your Honor, as this is substantially more prejudicial than it is probative.
All right. Your objection is overruled. It'll be admitted.
Yes, Your Honor.
Publishing 25. So you mentioned Rule 13.1.1.3. In summation, what is this rule?
It is the rule that determines when or prohibits what someone from the athletics department can do in contacting those athletes that have not placed themselves in the transfer portal.
So with this rule in effect, can a four-year university contact a player at another university who is under contract?
No,
So
not
let-
without permission.
So let's take a look at the text messages. We're publishing Exhibit 64. Who are these text messages between?
John Rowe and Happy Young.
What does John Rowe say in his first text message to Happy Young?
I'm sorry, what does John Rowe say in his first text message?
Yes, ma'am.
He says, signed yesterday.
And how does Happy Young respond in his last text message to John Rowe?
Give me 24 hours, I'll be in touch.
Publishing Exhibit 65. What does Happy Young say to John Rowe in that first text message?
What does Happy say to John Rowe?
Yes, ma'am.
How does $2 million sound?
What does John Rowe ask him in the third text message?
Is that so that's a solid offer?
And what's the next question?
The next question by whom?
On the left, it starts with Coach Bell.
Oh, Coach Bell signed off on it.
How did Happy respond?
I got all the authority I need, trust me.
Moving to Exhibit 66. What does Happy Young say to John Rowe in the first blue text message?
It's real. I got the money and everyone is on board. Let's make it happen.
Now, keep that up for a second, John, if you will. Ms. Chitwood, what day did Avery Rowe sign his contract with Independence University?
I believe that was March 26, 2024.
And what is the date of these text messages?
This text message that's showing now is March 28th.
Now, we've talked about why it wouldn't be a good basketball decision for Provo University to recruit Avery Rowe, but did you review any evidence of another reason Avery Rowe could have been recruited?
No, not really.
Did you review exhibits 54 and 56?
I did, and I did.
Let's take a look at those. They were just entered into evidence. Will you please read the first two text messages, starting with, actually, you know what? Who are these text messages between? I apologize. Are they between Happy Young and Coach Bell?
Yes, they are.
So what does Happy Young ask Coach Bell in the very first message?
What do you think about that kid from Independence Row?
How does Coach Bell respond?
Good player, could be a great player. I'm sure Aubrey is about to have to break the bank to keep him. Glad we have Logan here so we don't have to get in a bidding war for a kid like that, though it would be nice to stick it to Aubrey.
Let's take a look at Exhibit 56. How does Coach Bell respond when Happy Young says, "Not sure there's any reason to keep pursuing Avery at this point"?
We've got Logan, we're good. Would have been a nice piece for us though, and would have probably been a kill shot to Aubrey's program for the next year or two.
Now, Ms. Chitwood, in your opinion, how did Avery Rowe leaving Independence University affect their basketball team?
Well, it left a pretty big hole because they were already losing a lot of players. My understanding is that Coach Dale's plan was to build a team around Avery Rowe and was, on his way to doing that. And then, they lost the one star player that had shown that he could produce, he could perform.
Thank you. Pass the witness. May I retrieve the exhibit?
Yes. Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Now, ma'am, you were hired by the plaintiff in today's case, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
They're paying you $800 an hour for your services.
They are.
But the truth is, they're not just putting money in your pockets for your work in today's case, correct?
Correct.
You also work as a consultant for Independence University.
They are one of my clients, yes, but I work for a number of universities.
Well, this client, they paid you $17,000 already, haven't they?
Yes, they have.
And they're going to pay you even more for testifying in court today.
Yes.
Well, I want to talk about your opinions in today's case. Because you just told the members of the jury that Provo had no good reason for signing Avery Rowe on their team. Didn't you say that?
I did.
But ma'am, you'd agree with me that Avery Rowe was one of the top point guards in the country, true?
Well, I mean, there was always a group of really good players, and he was certainly a very good player.
Well, not only was he a very good player, he was the number 3 point guard in the nation, wasn't he?
Yes.
And ma'am, Provo University's starter, he only had 1 year left of eligibility, didn't he?
I believe he is a rising senior, so yes.
So after that year ended, he wouldn't be able to be on the team anymore. Isn't that true?
If he has no remaining eligibility, yes, that would be true.
And I want to be clear, when players start, sometimes they have to be taken out, right?
Yes.
Sometimes they get injured.
Sure.
Sometimes they have to be substituted.
Yes.
Sometimes they even foul out themselves.
Yes.
So it's important to have a backup that you can put in your game. Isn't that true?
Yes. Certainly helps.
Now I want to ask you, would you rather have a good backup or a bad backup?
Well, I think the answer is clearly you'd like to have a good backup, but that's not the reason for my opinion. It's the $3 million for a backup player.
Well, that's interesting, ma'am. Because you would say yourself that a player is worth whatever a team is willing to pay for them. Those are your words, correct?
Yes.
Now, I want to compare Independence and Pro. Because you know that Independence, they got out in the second round of the NCAA tournament, true?
Yes.
Provo, they made it to the Sweet 16, didn't they?
Yes.
Independence, they were ranked 7th in the conference, correct?
Correct.
Provo, they were ranked 3rd.
Correct.
You'd agree with me that Provo University was closer to a championship than Independence that season.
By the rankings, yes.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Chitwood, you were asked about how much you're being paid. Does that affect your opinion whatsoever?
Absolutely not.
Anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may step down. Thank you. Who will be your next witness?
Plaintiff calls the defendant's head football coach, Riley Bell. And Your Honor, under Rule 611C, we would be asked to be permitted to use leading questions.
That's granted.
What did I say, football? Basketball, Your Honor, I apologize.
Coach Bell, I'll remind you that you were previously sworn. You are still under oath. If you'll please have a seat. You may proceed.
Your name is Riley Bell,
It is, yes.
and you're the head basketball coach for Provo University.
I am.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about how Provo University recruits their basketball players. You are familiar with that process.
I am.
In fact, you're in charge of that process.
I am now.
Now, you agree with me that NIL has changed the way that college recruiting is done.
I think you state the obvious, yes.
Right, most schools have an NIL collective.
I presume so. I'm not familiar with how every school does it, but yeah, I presume most people, if you want to compete today, does something like that.
You're familiar with how your school does it.
I am, yes.
Your school has an NIL collective.
Yes, we have a group that does that stuff, yeah.
That collective is responsible for fundraising NIL money.
Yes.
And you are responsible for telling them where that money goes.
I identify the candidates for the funding that they have available, yes.
Right, so you are responsible for recruiting, right?
I do the recruiting, yes. I mean, with the help of my staff, yeah.
Sure, but YME or the NIL collective is responsible for fundraising.
Fundraising and channeling the money.
YME is not responsible for recruiting.
YME does not recruit, no.
In fact, you claim that the Provo basketball program and the NIL collective, which supports it, are two totally different entities, right?
That's right.
You claim there is no formal relationship between them at all.
I don't claim that's the fact.
Let's take a look at your memorandum of understanding with the NIL collective. Permission to approach with Exhibit 59. Exhibit 59 is a memorandum of understanding between Provo University and Young Marketing Enterprises, also known as YME. Right?
Yes.
Exhibit 59 fairly and accurately reflects the memorandum of understanding.
It does.
It's got your signature on it.
It does.
Plaintiff offers Exhibit 59,
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
It'll be admitted.
publishing. Now, Coach Bell, under the memorandum of understanding between Provo and YME, it says that the goal is to have a mutually beneficial relationship, right?
Yes.
So let's take a look at how that's accomplished. It says that YME's primary function will be raising money. Is that right?
That's what it says, yes.
It goes on to say that YME shall not contact recruits and or potential transfers directly without the prior approval and authorization of the head basketball coach at the university. That's what it says?
That's what it says, yes.
And the head basketball coach, that's you.
That was me, yes.
Now, you are familiar with the NCAA regulations,
I am.
the NCAA bylaws.
I am.
In addition to the memorandum of understanding, the NCAA bylaws dictate how you can recruit players.
Yes.
Under the NCAA bylaws, you are not permitted to recruit a player who's currently under contract with a different school.
Are you asking, is that a question?
It's a fact, Coach Bell. You are familiar with the NCAA regulations.
I am, yes.
And so you're familiar with the fact that those regulations do not allow you to recruit a player who is under contract with another school, right?
Yes, I am familiar with that.
Directly or indirectly. You cannot recruit that player directly or incorrectly under the NCAA
That's
bylaws.
correct.
You nor an agent of the university can recruit that player, right?
That's correct, yes.
None of your representatives can recruit that player, can they?
That's my understanding.
Now, Coach Bell, you are aware that Happy Young recruited Avery Rowe while he was under contract with Independence University.
I mean, I don't know that he recruited him. I mean, they made contact with them and talked to them, but
You've seen the text messages, haven't you?
but I didn't know that at the time.
I'm sorry, you claim you did not know that Happy Young was having text message conversations with John Rowe?
That's not what I said. I said I didn't know he was recruiting him.
Well, let's take a look at the text messages and compare those to your phone call history with Happy Young in Exhibit 64 and 57. Now, you recognize Exhibit 64.
Yes,
Exhibit 64 is a conversation between Happy Young and John Rowe, right?
if you say so, yes.
Happy Young's text messages are in blue, aren't they?
If that's what you say, yes.
Coach Bell, let me get something straight here. You have reviewed these text messages before.
I have once the case was filed, yeah.
And so you know that Happy Young's text messages are in blue, right?
I mean, that's my understanding, yeah.
Okay, so
But since I wasn't a participant to them, I'm taking your word for that, okay?
So Happy Young says, you signed anything yet, didn't he?
Yes,
And John Rowe responds, signed yesterday.
is that a question?
John Rowe responded, signed yesterday, didn't he?
Yes,
Now, at the end of this text message chain, Happy says, give me 24 hours, I'll be in touch, didn't he?
yes,
But you claim you have not talked to Happy Rowe during this conversation having taken place.
that's not what I claim. I claim I had not talked to him about recruiting this person.
So you did talk to Happy Rowe about Avery Rowe.
I did not talk to him about recruiting anybody.
So you claim you never talked to Happy Young about recruiting Avery Rowe. Am I getting that right?
Yes,
Okay, well, let's look at whether you talked to Happy Young at all on March 27th. On March 27th, you had a phone call with Happy Young at 12:04 p.m. Right?
yes,
That's only 20 minutes after John Rowe told Happy Young that he had signed yesterday, right?
apparently yes.
Let's go to Exhibit 65. Exhibit 65 is another text message chain between Happy Young and John Rowe, right?
Yes,
Happy Young says, how does $2 million sound? Is that correct?
yes,
He goes on to say, I got all the authority I need. Trust me, right?
yes.
That sound like recruiting to you?
guess some people could call it that. I mean, like I said, I was not aware that any of this was going on, so I don't know what context to put it in.
Right, you say you have no clue that these conversations were going on.
That's correct.
Now, this was on March 28th of 2024, right?
That's what it says, yes.
Let's go to Exhibit 66. Exhibit 66 was also on March 28th.
Yes, that's what it says.
And in this conversation, John Rowe says that Avery said no to the $2 million offer, right?
That's what it says, yes.
Said he doesn't want to betray coach.
That's what it says.
And then Happy Young offers John Rowe a $3 million NIL contract. Right?
That's what it appears to do. I mean, again, I wasn't privy to these texts, so
Well, let's see if Happy agrees. Happy goes on to say, it's real, I got the money, and everyone is on board, right?
that, where does it say that? That's what it says, yes.
And this was on March 28th.
Yes, according to the,
Let's take a look at your phone calls with Happy Young on March 28th. On March 28th, the same day that Happy Young offered John Rowe $3 million, you had 3 phone conversations with Happy Young.
yes.
But you claim you had no idea what was going on.
We didn't talk about it. I mean, Happy and I talked about the basketball team on a regular basis. We were in the middle of the tournament at this point in time, and he was calling to congratulate us on our success and talk about what we were doing in the tournament.
So your testimony is you never once talked about Avery Rowe in any of those 3 conversations.
That's my testimony, yes.
Now, a basketball player cannot join your team without your approval, right?
Yes,
I mean, you're the head coach, so you make that decision.
that's my decision, yeah, my call.
So what you're saying is Happy Young offered John Rowe $3 million in NIL money, and he didn't even have your approval for Avery Rowe to join the team?
That's correct.
Let's talk about why Avery Rowe was recruited. Now, you know Coach Aubrey Dale, don't you?
Yeah,
You and Coach Dale kind of started your careers together
a long time ago, yes,
at Bloomington State.
that's correct.
Coach Dale reported you to the NCAA for a rules violation.
He did that, yes.
You were paying players under the table.
I wasn't paying players, no.
Well, the NCAA found that you were.
The NCAA found out I was facilitating the payment, but I wasn't paying them.
Thank you for clearing that up, Coach Bell. The NCAA suspended you from coaching for 2 years.
It did.
You were blacklisted from coaching for 5.
I guess, I mean, you know, it was hard to get a job for a while, and so I presume it was because I was blacklisted, but I didn't talk to everybody who was running a basketball program to know if I was on a blacklist or not.
Set your career back years.
It made things a little more difficult than I had planned, yeah.
Well, the first time you got back to a good coaching job at a Division I school was for Provo University.
That's the first time I was back in Division I, yes.
And in your first season as coach, you recruited Avery Rowe.
No, I was as head coach, yes, but I was at Provo for 9 years before I was head coach.
So when you were in your first season as head coach, you recruited Aubrey Dale's best player.
I recruited a point guard who I thought would make an improvement to our team. I didn't care where he was from.
A backup point guard,
Yes.
you paid him $3 million.
Well, but I mean, backup is your word. I mean, our plan was to basically have joint point guards to start the season.
Let's be clear about something, Coach Bell. You had a starting point guard and a backup point guard, right?
I had a starting point guard. I had an A and a B. I had a 1A and a 1B is the way we were developing the program at that point after we got Avery.
Well, your 1A was not Avery Rowe.
No.
Pass the witness.
Examination from the defense counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
May I proceed?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Coach.
Good afternoon.
Plaintiff's counsel asked you for your name, but I want to know your story. How did you get involved in basketball?
I played as an undergraduate, and that was kind of a point where I decided that I wanted to continue to be involved in basketball, but unfortunately, I couldn't dunk. My three-point shots weren't that consistent, and so if I was going to continue to be involved in basketball, I knew it was going to have to be as a coach or in that kind of capacity.
How long have you been a coach?
I've been a coach 20 years,
Where are you coaching now?
Provo University.
Now, opposing counsel asked about your relationship with Aubrey Dale. Sir, can you tell the members of the jury when all of that happened?
About 30 years ago.
Do you still hold a grudge against Coach Dale?
I got more important things in life to worry about what happened to me 30 years ago.
Well, I want to talk about what you're doing at Provo. Are you involved with recruiting players there?
Yes.
Has recruiting stayed the same as you've been a coach?
No, recruiting in the last 10 years has changed phenomenally. It's not the same game.
Now, for those of us who aren't on the court like you are, can you explain to the members of the jury how exactly it changed?
Well, now recruiting is not about convincing prospective candidates that you got a great program and they're going to get a good education. It's about money. It's about how much you can pay them and what kind of financial resources you have to promise to these young players.
Well, are you paying those players?
No, I mean, I don't make anywhere near that kind of money.
So who is?
There's an organization that sort of gets involved of former students, boosters, those kinds of people who are interested in the sports programs at the university, and they collectively generate funds for the different sports.
Who's in charge of the boosters at Provo University?
YME.
Does YME have anyone in charge of them?
Yes, Happy is the sort of boss. He's the billionaire who kind of put it all together and runs it.
Now, I want to be very clear, Coach. Did you ever tell Happy Young to recruit Avery Rowe?
No.
Now, I want to bring back up those text messages that opposing counsel showed you just a few minutes ago. I'm showing opposing counsel, which have already been admitted as Exhibit 66 and 65. Your Honor, permission to approach the witness with the same. And now, Coach, drawing your attention to Exhibit 65. When Happy Young says, I got all the authority I need, did Happy have your authority?
He did not.
Drawing your attention to 66. Sir, on that second page of 66, where he says everyone is on board, on March 28th, were you on board with recruiting Avery Rowe?
He's not speaking for me or anyone else at Provo University.
So when were you on board with recruiting Avery?
When we found out he would be available by entering the portal on April 7th.
Sir, did you try to recruit Avery Rowe to get back at Coach Dale?
That would be stupid to spend $3 million to get back at somebody.
So why did you spend those $3 million?
Because it would improve the program. It would improve the program. That's what I'm all about, is making our basketball program the best program in the conference.
Did you plan on having Avery play that season?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Nothing further. I'm approaching and retrieving evidence.
You recross?
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Coach Bell, you just told us that you recruited Avery Rowe for the sole purpose of improving your program. Is that right?
That's correct.
Well, let's take a look at what you told Happy Young when he asked you about Avery Rowe. In Exhibit 54, Happy Young asked you, what do you think about that kid from Independence Row, correct?
He did.
You responded, good player, could be a great player, right?
Yes.
You said, I'm sure Aubrey is going to have to break the bank to keep him Glad we have Logan here so we don't have to get into a bidding war for a kid like that. Though it would be nice to stick it to Aubrey. Those are your words?
Those are my words, yes.
Let's take a look at Exhibit 56. Happy Young texted you that he's not sure there's any reason to keep pursuing Avery at this point. Right?
Yes,
And you responded, we've got Logan, we're good, right?
correct.
You said, would have been a nice piece for us though, and probably would have been a kill shot to Aubrey's program for the next year or two.
I'd have said that about Scott Drew's program. I would have said that about anybody's program in the conference if they were going to lose a key player. That has nothing specific to the Independence program. Anybody in the conference who would have lost a player like that would you'd be able to make that statement about it. It's nothing to do with him.
But you didn't say Independence University's program.
Well, you don't talk about programs like that when you're in a league. You talk about them through their coaches. That's the normal way you talk about stuff. I don't say Baylor, I say Scott Drew's program when I'm talking about a program.
And here you said Aubrey's program.
That's right.
Pass the witness.
Anything further?
Nothing further, Your Honor. We ask this witness be excused.
You may step down and be excused. Who will be your next witness?
Plaintiff calls Blake Young, AKA Happy Young.
Mr. Young, I'll remind you that you were previously sworn. You are still under oath. If you'll please have a seat.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you please introduce yourself to us?
Yes, my name is Blake Young, but everyone calls me Happy Young.
Happy, what do you do for a living?
Well, I wear a few hats. I own a few sports teams in Salt Lake City. I own an NBA team, our NHL team, as well as a MLS soccer team, and I also own a data consulting company.
Are you involved with Provo University?
Yep, that's one of the other hats I wear. I'm the head of YME Young Marketing Enterprises. We're the NIL collective for Provo University.
Now, are YME and Provo University still on good terms?
No, we are not.
Why not?
Well, Provo University threw me under the bus with the NCAA. And as far as I'm concerned, I was the main donor to YME, and I was the main reason why YME had any funds to disperse to the players to begin with. And after the way they treated me, they're not getting any of my money until some things change.
Now, Happy, we've heard your name a lot today. Were you involved in the recruitment of Avery Rowe?
Yes, absolutely.
How so?
Well, I was acting under the direction of Coach Bell, and I was the one that was reaching out to Mr. Rowe's father, trying to set up a deal and trying to work out the numbers so that we could get Avery Rowe on our team.
How did you facilitate recruiting Avery Rowe?
Well, I knew John Rowe, who is Avery Rowe's dad, because of some involvement that I have with some high school basketball tournaments. Being a pro owner, I like to go to the local high school tournaments just to kind of see the young talent that's coming up through the pipeline. And I had met John Rowe mainly because Avery was a standout player even in high school. And I got to know John Rowe a little bit. And eventually when we played Avery 3 times last year, I came to recognize that he was going to be a force when it came to college basketball.
Did you reach out to John?
Yeah, so that's how it started off. I reached out to John, just congratulating him on some good games that Avery was having, and then eventually started asking him about what were Avery's plans for the following year. How much money was he being offered by Independence and so forth.
No. Who told you to reach out to John?
Well, I reached out originally to Coach Bell because, like I said, I'd kind of watched Avery's talent throughout the years, and I thought he might be someone we might want to keep an eye on. And then eventually I chatted with Coach Bell, and Coach Bell gave me the green light to go ahead and start seeing if we can get a deal between Provo and Avery.
Let's take a look at a couple of those text messages. Publishing, what's that? publishing Exhibit 64. Do you recognize Exhibit 64?
Yes, sir.
Is this one of those messages between you and John Rowe?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So will you describe this conversation to us?
Yeah, so this was a few days before Avery ended up separating the contract that he had with Independence and coming over to us. And so I was just trying to figure out, you know, if they had a deal on the table already, how much money they might be offering, and whether or not they had that termination clause that would allow Avery to jump ship and come on our team.
So let's take a look at how the conversation proceeded from there. Looking at Exhibit 65, how did the conversation go on?
Well, you know, I threw out our first number, which was 2 million. I had the clearance from Coach Bell to go up to 3 million, but I figured I'd start on the low end at first. And then I just wanted to see, you know, where they were at, whether 2 million was going to be enough to get it done, or if we had to end up going higher.
Now, I noticed right here it says, I got all the authority I need. Whose authority is that?
That's Coach Bell. You know, I talk with him every time I talked with John Rowe. I had a phone call explaining what happened with Coach Bell. I mean, I was just the go-between guy. So Coach Bell knew what was happening.
Thank you, John. You can take those down. So why were you reaching out to John Rowe and not Coach Bell?
Well, you know, the NCAA has rules against coaches reaching out directly to the players that have already signed with other teams. So I was kind of, I was basically doing the dirty work for Coach Bell and for Provo.
Now, while y'all were recruiting Avery Rowe, did you ever talk about how Avery would fit into the team?
Yeah, a little bit. It was more about hurting the other team, Independent, than really helping our team.
Well, what did Coach Bell say?
Well, Coach Bell essentially said that, you know, without having Avery, you know, their team was basically going to be shot. And so regardless how much he helps us, we knew that we were going to be hurting the competition. And he especially wanted to stick it to Coach Dale.
Did Coach Bell ever talk about Coach Dale specifically?
Yeah, Coach Dale came up in conversation a few times.
What did Coach Bell say about Coach Dale?
Well, pardon my French, but whenever we were getting ready to play Independence, it was always, God, I can't wait to beat that asshole. You know, he called him a cheat and a snake for what happened at their previous job. I mean, anytime Coach Dale's name came up, there was quite a bit of language used surrounding it.
Pass the witness.
Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. In 2021, you were questioned by the NCAA enforcement agency, weren't you?
Yes, ma'am.
They asked you if you've been communicating with Avery Rowe.
That's correct.
You told them you hadn't.
That is correct.
Sir, you lied, didn't you?
I did.
And now you're telling us not only you lied then, but it was Coach Bell who was directing you to talk to Avery.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Sir, you're claiming to the members of the jury that it was Coach Bell who told you to talk to Avery.
Yes, that's correct.
Let's see why your story changed. Because you said something interesting on direct examination, Mr. Young. I wrote it down. You told the members of this jury that Coach Bell threw you under the bus. Isn't that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, that's right. He did.
That's because Coach Bell told the press about how you were talking to Avery Rowe, didn't he?
Yes.
And sir, you're the one that throws people under the bus. Isn't that true?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
You'd say that you throw people under the bus.
I'm not sure I follow your question.
Well, would you recognize some text messages that you sent?
Suppose so.
I'm approaching opposing counsel. Those have been pre-marked as Exhibit 86. Your Honor, permission to approach the witness with the same? Mr. Young, those are your texts, aren't they?
Yes, my texts are in the gray, I believe.
And the ones in the blue, that's Coach Bell.
Yes, I think that's right.
It's a fair and accurate copy?
Yes, it is.
It hasn't changed at all since the last time you saw it at all?
No.
Mr. Young, in those texts, you say in all caps, I throw people under the bus, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I was incensed that Coach Bell, after the millions of dollars that I've spent supporting his team and his school, would just throw me under the bus like that. I mean, I've been a business owner and a supporter of the school for a long time. I thought I've earned at least some kind of, I think I've earned at least some kind of respect from the coach to not just chuck me out to the media like that.
Well, thank you for all that, sir, but that wasn't my question. I'm only asking about the words on that page. And you write on that page in all caps, I throw people under the bus, don't you?
Yes, I wrote that sentence.
If someone crosses you, even just once, you admit you want to see them burn, don't you?
Yes, I mean, I don't think anyone wants to be crossed and backstabbed the way I was by Provo and Coach Bell.
So that's a yes. If someone crosses you once, you want to see them burn.
Yes, I don't stand for any kind of backstabbing and betrayal. Absolutely not.
Thank you. Nothing further. I'm approaching to retrieve evidence.
Redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Happy, are you a Provo fan?
Yes, sir.
You go to Provo.
I did.
Now, earlier you mentioned that Y&E, your NIL collective, has parted ways with Provo.
Yes.
Would you ever consider becoming a Provo fan?
You know, I would in the future, but like I mentioned, some things are going to have to change before I ever give another dollar back to the university and back to the basketball program.
What would have to change?
Well, the first thing that would have to change is Coach Bell has to stop being involved with the team. We have to fire Coach Bell before the school's going to see any of my money.
Why are you testifying against Coach Bell?
Well, frankly, you know, we were tampering. You know, we were trying to get that player, Avery Rowe, in a way that we shouldn't have been, and in a way that was certainly not by the rules. But now that it's all out in the open, I think everyone deserves to know the truth about how it happened.
Pass the witness.
Anything further?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
You may step down. Who will be your next witness?
Your Honor, we have no more witnesses and the plaintiff rests.
All right. At this time, we're going to, counsel, do you have it?
Your Honor, we can take a brief break, but defense counsel would like to make a Rule 50 motion. We could do that before or after the break.
Let's do it before and then we'll take a break.
Yes, Your Honor.
Constructively.
Even when viewing the evidence in the light most favorable to the non-moving party, that being the plaintiff, no reasonable juror could find in their favor. Specifically, Your Honor, it was the plaintiff's burden to prove today that Avery Rowe terminated that contract, left Independence University because of Provo University's actions. Now, Your Honor, the only evidence we've heard today of why Avery actually left that team is because of basketball reasons. Coach Dale on that stand admitted himself that he was surprised how much Avery's decision had to do with the direction of the team. And as Your Honor is aware in your jury instructions, it explicitly states that if that contract is terminated for a reason outside of the defense party, for unrelated reasons and an unrelated purpose, like wanting a better team, then no reasonable juror could find in their favor at this moment. This verdict should be directed in favor of the defense.
Response?
Yes, Your Honor. Viewing the evidence in a light most favorable to the plaintiff, we have met our burden and any reasonable juror could conclude in our favor. We've established that Provo University, more specifically Coach Bell, interfered with the contract that Independence University had with Avery Rowe, and that they did that intentionally. That was bolstered by Happy Young's testimony, who just got off the stand and told the members of the jury that Coach Bell told him to do all of it, Coach Bell told him to make an offer, and Coach Bell never talked about why Avery Rowe was such an important recruit, which is evidence of our motive. Judge, we've established ample evidence that Coach Bell and Provo University recruited Avery Rowe improperly and for an improper motive. The motion is due to be denied.
All right, I am going to deny the motion, and we're going to take a 5-minute break. We'll be in recess.
Yes, Your Honor.
All rise for the jury. I'll take your break. Please be seated. Then who will be your first witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Ashwood Blunt.
Ms. Blunt, I'll remind you that you were previously sworn in. You are still under oath. Please have a seat. You may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Yeah, my name's Ashwood Blunt.
What do you do for a living, Ms. Blunt?
Yeah, so I am the president and CEO of Echo, which is an outdoor recreation facility. And then I also recently became the president and CEO of Blunt Legacy, which is the new NIL for Provo.
You said that's the new NIL. Were you ever working with the previous NIL, YME?
Yeah, I did do some work with YME. I was one of the donors, and then I was also kind of a part of deciding kind of where the funds were going. But, you know, Provo's no longer using YME, and BLM is going to replace it.
Were you working with YME in March and April of 2024?
Yeah, I was.
Ma'am, during that time, did you ever talk to Coach Bell at all?
Yeah, actually, Coach Bell and I are good friends. So we had, you know, spent some time golfing together and things like that.
Did you ever talk to Coach Bell about Avery Rowe?
No, never.
Now, I want to be clear. During your conversations with Coach Bell, did he ever direct you to recruit Avery Rowe?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
To your knowledge as a member of YME, did Coach Bell ever recruit anyone to try to get Avery on that team?
No.
Are you familiar with a man named Happy Young?
Yes, I'm familiar with Happy.
How familiar are you?
Well, we worked together some at YME.
In your time working with Happy at YME, did you form an opinion on whether he's an honest person?
Yeah, I would say that I could form that opinion.
What is your opinion on whether he's honest?
Well, I
Response, Your Honor? Your Honor, Rule 608 is clear. Once a witness takes that stand, their credibility for truthfulness and honesty is up for grabs. We are allowed to have this witness act as a character witness from her relationship with Happy Young. She stated she worked at YME, she did at the time, and that she's worked closely with Happy Young. She's able to give that opinion today.
Response.
Yes, Your Honor, they can offer evidence which would contradict Happy Young's testimony. However, the jurors are the sole weighers of credibility in this case. It is improper for this witness to say whether or not they think Happy Young is a liar or tells the truth.
Response, Your Honor?
Yes.
Rule 608A is clear that once a witness has testified, we are allowed to call additional witnesses about that person's character. It doesn't have to contradict anything they've previously said. They can simply state on the stand their opinion if they're familiar with them.
Your Honor, it would be appropriate for Ms. Blunt to testify to specific instances, not to offer an opinion on their thought with regard to the credibility of Happy Young.
Response on those grounds?
Yes.
Your Honor, under Rule 608B, that goes into specific instances. That's when a character has not been attacked already and you're going into it on cross-examination. When a witness has already testified, under Rule 608A, we're allowed to call additional witnesses to attack their character in general and in general opinions. That's exactly what we're doing. It complies with 608A.
I'll allow it.
So after knowing Happy Young, what is your opinion on whether he's honest?
I certainly wouldn't say that he's an honest person.
Why do you say that?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty certain he's been lying about Coach Bell this whole time.
Thank you. Nothing further.
All right, cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Ms. Blunt, you went to Provo, right?
That's right.
You're a huge basketball fan.
Absolutely.
You also just started an NIL collective.
That's correct.
Now, your NIL collective is meant to replace Happy Young's NIL collective at Provo.
Yeah, after Happy went rogue with this situation, just didn't feel like it was the right person to have in place making those decisions anymore.
Right, you don't like Happy Young, do you?
Not particularly.
You just told the jury you think he's a liar.
Well, he lied about Coach Bell.
Right, you think he betrayed Provo.
Well, he did. He went rogue on this situation with Rowe.
You think Happy Young got sloppy when he was recruiting Avery Rowe too,
That's right.
because he left a paper trail.
That's right.
And according to you, when you're recruiting a player, you always do it over the phone
Yes, that's my personal preference.
so that you don't leave a paper trail.
That's right.
You and Coach Bell, y'all are good friends, right?
That's correct.
Now, Happy Young abandoned Coach Bell.
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, betrayed Coach Bell.
I would say so, yeah.
Betrayed Provo.
He did when he decided to go rogue on the situation and didn't involve Provo in the decisions that he was making.
But you haven't betrayed Provo.
I wouldn't say so.
You would never betray Coach Bell like Happy Young did, would you?
Absolutely not.
Y'all are golfing buddies.
That's right.
Y'all are good friends.
That's correct.
Pass the witness.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Blunt, does your relationship with Coach Bell affect your testimony at all today?
No, I mean, I've been involved with the program. I know what's been going on with Happy. I've been able to work with him over the last several years, and I think I'm completely qualified to talk about, his involvement in this case and the fact that he, at face value, just, undercut the program, undercut Coach Bell, and that's all I'm here to say.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Anything further?
No, Your Honor.
You may step down. Stepping down. She stepped down. All right, who will be your next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Casey Fleener.
I'll remind you that you were previously sworn in. You're still under oath. Please have a seat.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Hi, my name is Casey Fleener.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Fleener?
Few things. Most of my time is spent as a ESPN analyst, a color commentator, also an attorney, and have a little of counsel work that I do with that as well. Do some coaching.
Well, sir, for those of us who might not know, like me, can you explain what a color commentator is?
Sure. Usually, if you're watching a television game, sporting event, you'll have a play-by-play person. It's kind of telling you what's going on with the ball, etc. Then you have a color commentator. So if you watch more people around here, probably football. So if you've seen Tony Romo, that's kind of my job over there, telling you kind of insights to the game about the players, background, those kinds of things.
How long have you been a color commentator?
Over 20 years.
Now, you mentioned that you were a coach. Where were you a coach at?
Well, I went to Duke, played actually, despite the optics in here, started 4 years as a center for Duke, and then afterwards basically came back to law school after playing in Europe for a couple years and got to be an assistant coach actually at Duke while I was going to law school.
While you were an assistant coach, did you ever deal with recruiting?
I mean, nothing like off campus or anything. Law school obviously keeps you a little busy, but show players around and be involved with them once they were on campus.
And in your work as an analyst, did you ever have to analyze how teams are using their players?
Well, sure. I mean, that's part of the coaching job, and obviously as an ESPN analyst, you're always looking at stats, looking at how the teams are building up their players, their rosters, what the strategies they're using. That kind of information is really good to give to the television audience.
Mr. Fleener, can you tell us why you're here in court today?
Well, sure. Here to give my opinions, given my background and information regarding what happened with Avery Rowe.
Before we get to your opinions, how did you come to them with the evidence that you had?
Oh, well, obviously reviewed everything that you guys sent me, which bunch of exhibits, the depositions, and then obviously my background, having the coaching experience and the ESPN analyst, yeah, using all of that.
Was all of that evidence sufficient to form a conclusion to a reasonable degree of professional certainty?
Yes, ma'am.
And those methods that you talked about in your experiences, is that typical for an analyst like you to rely on?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Did you reliably apply all that to the facts of today's case?
I did.
After you reviewed all that evidence, were you able to come to a conclusion?
I was.
What is that conclusion?
Multiple things, but to the biggest takeaway points is that Avery Rowe had legitimate basketball reasons for making the decision that he did, and Provo had legitimate business reasons and basketball interests for making the decisions they did.
Well, I want to start with Avery. Can you explain to the members of the jury why Avery had a basketball reason for leaving Independence?
Sure, there were multiple reasons on that. You got one side of it is the idea of the programs. You know, you're having a program here that is a restart. He's the only one that's really coming back. Otherwise, this is everybody else coming in. You don't know where that's going to lead. So Provo, in comparison, it's got stability. You got returning starters. You got the top recruit in the country coming in. That's stability. That's someone that's going to be competing for a championship for sure. Makes 100% sense to go.
Well, I want to talk more about Avery's stats himself. Would you recognize Avery's statistics and Independence University's roster?
Yes, ma'am.
You are a person to approach the witness with what's already been admitted as Exhibit 32. Mr. Fleener, based on this document, can you tell the members of the jury how Avery was doing in basketball that year?
Sure. Look at this. You can see that Avery was basically the third leading scorer on the team. Also led the team in assist as well. And that's all considering that started off as a freshman backup and had to earn that starting position after players got injured.
How did Avery's performance compare with other point guards that were freshmen around the country?
It was actually the third. Basically, if you're ranking the top freshman in the country, Avery was number 3.
Well, now I want to talk about Provo University. You told us that they had a valid business reason, valid basketball reasons to sign Avery. Can you tell the members of the jury what you meant when you said both those things?
Oh, sure. Signing someone like Avery made their team better. You're getting a player, once you hit that transfer portal, every team in the country wanted him on their team. He's going to make their team better. Makes sense.
Well, we've heard a lot today about whether or not Provo University needed a point guard. Do you know if they already had one on their team?
Sure. They had Logan Blaylock. It's obviously a top 5 point guard in the nation. Probably rank Avery at number 20. So that means that they're now going to have 2 top 20s. And that allows them to have like a 1A, 1B situation. You've got someone that's great to be coming in.
How many years of eligibility did Logan Blaylock have left?
Oh, he was coming in as a senior, so this was the last season. And then just like Coach Dale found out, you never know as far as injuries or anything else.
Now, when Avery started at Independence, do you know if he was a backup or a starter?
No, started as a, like I said, freshman coming in, so started off as a backup. Became a starter once they had some injuries.
Are injuries common in basketball?
Yes, ma'am.
How often might a player need to be substituted out during a game?
Well, I think that's a actual big thing. Everybody keeps talking about this idea of backup versus starter, but the reality is that, starters don't play the entire game. They're constantly getting subbed out. So a few minutes here, a few minutes there, having someone else that can keep that intensity up, you're more likely to win games.
Do you know whether Provo planned on having Avery play a significant amount of time on that court?
Like I said, that was the plan. That's what the evidence that I've reviewed says, is it was kind of a 1A, 1B situation. So it wasn't like, hey, we're getting this kid and just going to ride the pine the entire time. Definitely was planning on playing them significantly.
So, Mr. Fleener, what's your ultimate conclusion in today's case?
the ultimate conclusion is that all this was justified. This made sense. Avery Road had business sense.
Objection, Your Honor, to it was justified. It's an improper opinion, and it invades the province of the jury.
Response, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, justified is more general of a lay term than it is in this case. Though what this witness is stating is that it had a justified basketball reason. That's helpful for the members of the jury because just the term justified doesn't actually ring a bell for anything like something like tortious interference was. It's simply a general term.
Your Honor, the name of their affirmative defense is justification.
So similar with the interference ruling, I'm not going to allow him to give that ultimate opinion that is in line with the word justified.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Now, sir, without using the word justified, did Provo University have a good reason for signing Avery?
Yes, ma'am. Provo had a good reason to do what they did. Avery Rowe had a good reason to do what he did. This all made sense.
Thank you. Nothing further. I'm approaching to retrieve evidence.
Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Mr. Fleener, you told us that you work for ESPN, right?
That's correct.
You're a commentator for ESPN.
Yes.
So let's talk ball. You are familiar with Provo University's roster in the 2024 season.
Correct.
They had a great point guard in Logan Blaylock.
Correct.
Logan Blaylock averaged over 15 points a game,
That's right. That's why I said he was top 3.
over 6 rebounds a game,
I believe that's accurate.
over 5 assists.
Correct.
Logan Blaylock was one of the best point guards in the country.
Yeah, like I just said, he was number 3.
But Provo University recruited Avery Rowe
That's correct.
to be backup point guard.
Yes, sir.
When Avery Rowe was signed on at Provo University, he was given $3 million in NIL monies.
Helps having a billionaire.
But at the same time Avery Rowe was signed, Logan Blaylock was making half that.
Not for very long, but at that time, you were correct.
So at the time, Provo University signed a backup point guard for twice as much as their starting point guard.
Oh, they signed a top 20 point guard to play for their team in a 1A, 1B situation. It was more money than their starter at that time.
Let's talk about why you're here, Mr. Fleener. Now, you know Coach Bell.
I do.
Y'all are good friends.
Yes, sir. Been known each other about 30 years.
Right. You and Coach Bell have a friendship going back 30 years.
That's what I just said.
You were friends with Coach Bell when he worked at Bloomington State.
That's correct.
You were there for Coach Bell when he got fired from Bloomington State.
Well, I mean, I was around. Yeah. I don't know if he was crying on my shoulder, but
You still felt sorry for him.
oh, sure. No, I think he got railroaded.
You felt so sorry for him that you helped him get his job at Provo University.
I wouldn't agree with that.
You did not help Coach Bell get his job at Provo University,
Oh, I did. That wasn't the reason.
but you did help Coach Bell get his job at Provo.
Oh, correct.
And you and Coach Bell remain close friends to this day.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Pass the witness.
Redirect.
Mr. Fleener, why did you get Coach Bell that job at Provo University?
He deserved it. I think he's a top 5 coach in the country right now. Made sense for him to get a shot and be able to show that.
Does your relationship with Coach Bell impact your professional opinion in this case?
No, ma'am. I wouldn't want to wreck anything with either my reputation as an analyst or ethics as an attorney.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Anything further?
Yes, Your Honor. You also wouldn't want to wreck your relationship with Coach Bell, would you?
I think that one's going to fall down lower than those other 2.
Pass the witness.
Anything further?
Nothing further, Your Honor. We ask the witness be excused.
All right. You may step down. You're excused. Who will be your next witness?
With that, Your Honor, the defense rests our case in chief.
All right.
Your Honor, the plaintiff intends to put on a rebuttal case, and we would ask to recall Happy Young.
All right. you're still under oath, please have a seat.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Welcome back, Mr. Young. I just have a few more questions for you. Do you know somebody named Ashwood Blunt?
Yes, I do.
How do you know Ashwood?
Ashwood was kind of loosely involved with YME's NIL collective for Provo. Ashwood was a person I would, just call on for donations here and there.
Was Ashwood Blunt in any way involved with the recruitment of Avery Rowe?
No,
Did Ashwood Blunt ever help you and Coach Bell recruit Avery Rowe?
no. I mean, all the text messages between myself and John Rowe, Avery's dad, were always just between us, and the only names we mentioned were, Avery's, maybe Coach Bell, and we were just talking about Avery himself. Ashwood was never even mentioned in those conversations.
Pass the witness.
Any cross-examination?
No cross-examination, Your Honor.
All right. Let's step down.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have any additional rebuttal witnesses?
No, Your Honor. Plaintiff rests.
All right. Anything further from the defense?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Then we are prepared for closing argument. Is that right? Would you like a brief break?
Yes,
A
Your
brief
Honor.
break, Your Honor.
All right. We'll take another 5-minute recess. We're in recess.
Your Honor, may we reserve any remaining time for rebuttal?
How much would you like? Or just any remaining time?
Just any remaining
That's
time.
fine.
May it please the court, defense counsel, members of the jury, they knew the rules. They just didn't care. This defendant knew that Avery Rowe was under an NIL contract with Independence University. They knew that they could not interfere with that contract while it was still in place. They just didn't care. They did it anyway. They did it out of revenge. They did it because of a 30-year-old grudge that their head coach has had against Aubrey Dale. This defendant is liable for tortious interference. Now, as the plaintiff in this case, we had a burden of proof to prove that to you. And that's just more likely than not. We've proven that this defendant knew about the contract because you saw the social media posts. Now, when Coach Dale took the stand today, he told you how excited he was when Avery Rowe re-signed with Independence. He told you Avery was excited too. So excited, in fact, that they posted it on social media. And the reason that these posts are so important is because head coaches are looking at what other head coaches do. Rival basketball programs are constantly monitoring the other program. So when Independence posts that their star player is returning for a sophomore season, you better believe Provo University saw it. And Independence posted this everywhere, on Instagram in Exhibit 10, on X in Exhibit 11. Now, one of the first things that defense counsel said to you today was Avery was looking for a better team. But look at how excited Avery was in Exhibit 12 to share that he was spending his sophomore season at Independence. He says, I'm excited to announce I'll be back at Independence next year. Let's get it. And then he took it to Twitter. He said, I'm excited to announce I'm returning to Independence for my sophomore season. Let's get it. These are not the words of a player who was looking for somewhere better to go. This is a player who's excited, who's just signed a $1.5 million NIL deal. The player who posted about it. But that's not the only reason that we know. The defendant knew that Avery Rowe was under contract. Because we also heard from Happy Young today. And Happy Young told you that all those text messages between him and John Rowe were under the direction of their head coach, Riley Bell. So after all those text messages, they would call each other. We saw those side by side during Coach Bell's cross-examination. And he wanted to deny it all day. But members of the jury, we have common sense. And you are permitted to use your common sense when you're reaching your conclusion in today's case. So when John Rowe texts Happy Young saying that he signed yesterday, and then on the same day, Happy Young and Coach Bell talk on the phone, we know Coach Bell knew that he signed yesterday. We know that even though they knew about the contract, they interfered with it. Because right after finding out that Avery signed yesterday, Happy says, I'll be in touch. And what that really means is, I'll be in touch for Coach Bell. Because Happy told you all about the arrangement. I mean, Coach Bell would tell Happy what to say, how much money to offer Avery and Avery's dad. Tell Happy how to recruit Avery Rowe. And we saw that all throughout the text messages, continuous negotiations. It went from $2 million to $3 million. You know, if Avery was looking for somewhere better to play, if Avery was actively trying to get on Provo's roster, why didn't he take that $2 million deal? That's more than the NIL agreement he had with Independence. The defense told you Avery was excited to go to Provo, that he was looking for a better team, but that's not what the evidence shows. Avery said no. Doesn't want to betray coach. This is coming from Avery's dad. But then they raised the offer. Anything to get Avery Rowe. Anything to get Aubrey Dale's best player. That's what this is all about. The motive behind the recruitment. We know that this defendant interfered with the contract because, with knowledge of the contract, they intentionally made offers and induced Avery to leave Independence and instead go play for Provo. So the question is why? Why would they recruit Avery Rowe? Today they tried to tell you it's only for the fact that he's a great basketball player. And look, we don't disagree that Avery is a phenomenal basketball player. Independence was going to build their entire team around Avery. Coach Dale was ecstatic when Avery decided to stay for his sophomore season. But Provo didn't need him. Provo had a starting point guard. Even the defense's expert admitted to that. Logan Blaylock, over 15 points a game, over 6.5 points, over 6 rebounds a game, over 5 assists a game. A starting point guard. So why recruit a backup for $3 million? Why in the world would you recruit a backup who's being paid twice as much as the starter? Revenge. Today you saw the text messages and Coach Bell's words when he's not in front of you all. What he said to Happy. When Happy asked about Avery Rowe, Coach Bell said, good player, could be a great player. And right here, he had the opportunity to say anything. When Happy asked about Avery Rowe, he could say, that guy would be an asset for our team. He could say, I could see him being our starting point guard next season. He could say, Avery Rowe is what our team needs. But that's not what he said at all. He said, I'm sure Aubrey is going to have to break the bank to keep him. He said, glad we have Logan here so we don't have to get in a bidding war for a kid like that. Though it would be nice to stick it to Aubrey. That's the real motivation behind this recruitment. And we know that's true because even the defense told you, when you have all that money, when you have all that money that the NIL collective has made, the head coach can use it however he wants. Their head coach wanted revenge. And he used the NIL money to get it. Now, the defense brought an affirmative defense of justification. They tried to tell you all day that Avery Rowe was only recruited to be a basketball player. Members of the jury, that's not true. It's not true at all. In just a moment, you're going to get a verdict form. The judge will ask you to fill out these 2 questions. The first question is, did Provo University tortiously interfere with the contract? Since we know that they knew about the contract, since we know that they intentionally interfered with it, and since we know that their interference caused the contract to be terminated, you can check yes to question 1. When you get to question 2, which is the defense's affirmative defense, it'll ask you if the interference was justified. On question 2, you can answer no. Because the evidence has shown that Avery Rowe was not recruited to be a basketball player for Provo. He was recruited for revenge. They knew the rules. They did not care. Fine for Independence University.
Court recognizes defense counsel for closing argument.
Yes, Your Honor. May it please the court. We're here because Avery Rowe wanted a better team. Provo University wanted better players. And Independence has a bitter coach. And members of the jury, I still remember when ESPN aired The Decision, when LeBron James announced that he was taking his talents to South Beach. There were riots in the streets, fans were burning their jersey, commentators were saying that LeBron James never fulfilled on his promise to bring a championship to Cleveland. That's just what basketball is. Players leave, rivalries flare, coaches get bitter. But members of the jury, when Independence's coach Dale realized Avery was leaving that team, he didn't go burn his jersey. He didn't go run and riot in the street. No, he ran straight into this courthouse and filed a lawsuit. But members of the jury, just because Coach Dale is the one that lost a player doesn't mean his lawsuit is valid. Because all trial today, the plaintiff has had a burden of proof. They can't just tell you, oh, it was Provo University that interfered with that contract. That, oh, Wyominge's actions, that has to be Provo's because Happy Young swears it was. No, they have to prove it. They have to prove that it is more likely than not that it was Provo University themselves that interfered with Avery Rowe's contract and caused it not to be performed. That they did so intentionally and willfully. And that it caused Independence harm. But members of the jury, like I told you before, even if you believe each and every single element is true, it's not over. Because we today have brought you an affirmative defense of justification. That if we could prove to you today that Avery Rowe's contract could be terminated at any time, for any reason, and that Provo University had a valid business interest in acquiring Avery, well, even if you believe the plaintiff, your verdict must be not liable. And members of the jury, they haven't met their burden, but we did meet ours. By walking you through exactly why we're here today. Avery wanted a better team. Provo wanted a better player. And it left their coach bitter. So let's start with the better team. Because members of the jury, the plaintiff would have you believe that Independence University, well, they were a great team. That they were going to be able to bring Avery to those championships that he wanted to win. But you saw their roster, members of the jury. I asked Coach Dale on the stand how many starters he had left. Told you just one, Avery Rowe. How many players he had left other than Avery, told you just two. And members of the jury, those players weren't a Shaq and a Kobe. No, they had as many collegiate points in basketball as me. 0. But they want you to believe that Independence was the better team? That Avery Rowe didn't have a single reason to leave that team? Members of the jury, their own expert witness told you. How to compare the teams. That while Independence was ranked 7th, Provo was ranked 3rd. that when Independence lost in the second round of the tournament, Provo got to the Sweet 16. Which team was closer to a national championship like Avery wanted? It wasn't Independence. It was Provo University. And members of the jury, you're going to receive an instruction that if you believe that Avery Rowe terminated his contract for a reason other than Provo University, that if that contract was terminated for an unrelated reason, you have to find Provo University not liable. That brings us to a better player. Because members of the jury, the plaintiff would have you believe that losing a player like Avery Rowe, oh, that would devastate them. It would hurt Independence so bad. But it wouldn't help Provo. They're telling you that Avery is a once-in-a-generation player, that it destroyed their program. And that's the harm they brought you today. They have to prove it. But by acquiring Avery, it wouldn't have helped Provo at all. They told you that because they already had a point guard. But the experts in today's case actually agreed on a lot. That a point guard's an important position on the court. And things like injuries happen. Just because you're a backup doesn't mean you take a back seat. No, members of the jury, you have to get in that game and play. And that's exactly how Independence University started Avery. He was a backup. The starter got injured, and he came into play. But they want you to believe that couldn't happen at Provo? And that starter who had 1 year left of eligibility would always be there? You heard today that players, they had to be substituted. They can get injured. That this wasn't a starter backup situation. No, members of the jury, it was 1A and 1B. That they were going to split their time on that court. But then they want to show you and say, well, paying $3 million, that just doesn't make sense. But you learn they were paying to pay other players millions of dollars. Members of the jury, listen to what the plaintiff is asking you to believe. That Coach Bell would spend $3 million over a 30-year-old grudge, or $3 million for the number 3 point guard in the country. A 30-year-old grudge or a number 3 player. Decide what makes more sense. And that brings us to a bitter coach. Because they've tried to have Happy Young get on that stand and tell you, oh, it's not Coach Dale that's bitter for losing a player. It's Coach Bell from something that happened 30 years ago. But members of the jury, they can call Happy up on that stand as many times as they want. The only thing that mattered about his testimony is what he said in the beginning. That he was investigated by the NCAA and he lied. It's your job today to assess the credibility of witnesses. Members of the jury, if you were to step out in this courtroom and get some coffee from the Keurig outside, but a worker stopped you, told you that someone dropped some poison into the water, would you still brew that cup? Would you try to pour a little bit out? Would you try to drink around it? Would you leave it outside the room and bring it back in later and think it's fine? No, members of the jury, you'd throw it all away. That's exactly what you should do with Happy Young's testimony. Because at the end of the day, members of the jury, I want you to think about how many text messages you saw today. And there were a lot. But you might have noticed those texts, they weren't between Coach Bell and Avery, Coach Bell and his father, John Rowe. No, they were between Happy Young and John Rowe. But the text you saw that actually had Coach Bell in it, they never say that Coach Bell told Happy Young, oh, go recruit Avery. We need him right now on our team. I want you to go out and make him a $2 million offer. And members of the jury, what do these texts actually say? Let me know what comes of it. Members of the jury, if when you're walking into this courtroom, you ask me, where am I supposed to go sit down? Where's the jury box? And I said, would you know where to go? If I said, let me know when you get there, would you know where you're sitting right now? Because members of the jury, it's the plaintiff's job in today's case to prove to you that Happy Young was acting at the direction of, on the behalf of, and with the full knowledge of Provo University. How can they prove that to you today? Because the only person who got on this stand and told you, yeah, I broke the rules. I knew what I was doing was wrong. It wasn't Coach Bell. It was Happy Young. At the end of today's case, it's true that losing a player like Avery, it's not good for a school like Independence. But members of the jury, losing a player, that's the name of the game. Sometimes you win a player, sometimes you get a good lottery picket in the draft, but members of the jury, it doesn't mean you can file a lawsuit for tortious interference. Because when Avery Rowe wanted a better team, when Provo University wanted a better player, it left Independence with a bitter coach. That's why at the end of today's case, when you're finally given these set of questions, when you're asked the first one, did Provo University tortiously interfere with the contract? You can answer no. And even if you think about answering yes, you can't stop there. When you're asked if that interference was justified, if there's a good basketball reason, it was a good decision, you can answer yes. And once you do that, you'll find the only verdict that's consistent with the evidence. Not liable. Thank you.
Rebuttal?
Yes, Your Honor. You know, the defense spent most of their closing argument talking about the credibility of the witnesses. And at the end of the day, it is your decision as to who to believe, who not to believe. They spent a lot of time criticizing Happy Young. In fact, outright calling Happy Young a liar. But who did that testimony come from? Ashwood Blunt, who walked in this courtroom, called Happy Young a liar, and then ran out of it. Maybe she had a tea time with Coach Bell this afternoon. We heard that Ashwood Blunt is Coach Bell's good friend, but was not involved in this recruitment whatsoever. We had to recall Happy Young to the stand to tell you that Ashwood Blunt has nothing to do with this case. Never discussed Avery Rowe.
No, they're left with saying that Happy Young lied to the NCAA, so he's lying to you. Members of the jury, think about why he lied to the NCAA. They were still in their scheme. But when Coach Bell betrayed Happy Young betrayed him. He said, I'm going to tell the truth. And that's what you heard today. They also bolstered Coach Bell's credibility. They said Coach Bell was telling you the truth when he said he had no idea what was going on. That's what Coach Bell said on the stand. Coach Bell told you Avery Rowe was recruited for his basketball ability. Let's see what Coach Bell said to Happy Young. We've got Logan. We're good. Would have been a nice piece for us though, and would have probably been a kill shot to Aubrey's program for the next year or two. Coach Bell isn't talking about how good of a player Avery Rowe is. He's talking about how bad he wants to kill Aubrey's program. That's why Avery Rowe was recruited. And you can believe this text message because it didn't come from the witness stand. Find this defendant liable for tortiously interfering with our contract because they knew the rules. They just didn't care to follow them. Thank you all for your time.
Judges, please the ballot, help us sit tight, and we will quickly be back with the announcement of the preliminary decision.
Okay.
Hello. Real quick, I wanted to say congratulations. It was an awesome final round, very close and competitive, competed by the two advocates. I wanted to say real quick before we get on to announcing, and I promise I'm going to do this very shortly, I did want to say thank you to our friends from NGNM, the law firm who sponsored the tournament. A big round of applause for them. It's been awesome the entire time. And I know we have an NGN representative. You'll come down as well because we're going to do the presentation at the end. I'd love for you to be a part of that once we announce who the winner of the tournament is. And so that's great. With that, because I know what we're all waiting for, I would like to turn it over to our judge, Nicole Mitchell, to give her a chance to announce who the winner of Top Gun 16 is.
Thank you, Robert. All right. Well, it was a very close round, but the winner is the defendant, Sarah Paul from Ohio State University. Congratulations.